Um,
Um,
can you hear me? I guess
I
you
can
can.
hear you. I can hear you just fine.
Okay, now I'm hearing you. So many things.
Okay, just a moment. Let me touch up my volume control.
We gotta get on Steve to set up some more meetings. I didn't have any link to the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that
Well,
was
I had Jim's email from yesterday, and that had the link on it, and I used it, and it worked fine.
Yep, that's what I clicked on. But in the, the Zoom client software where
Yep,
it usually lists out the meetings,
yep.
there was no meeting.
Okay.
So I guess this is an unscheduled meeting according to Zoom.
Well, um, keep in mind, I haven't been here since May, and I did not update my version of Zoom, so it may be operating on history that is now obsolete. I didn't have the opportunity to download the newest version of Zoom and so forth and so on,
That's
which is probably just as well, because that's usually a disaster the first time I do that. So at
I
any rate,
I updated on this computer, what, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and they
yeah,
haven't changed the software. So I may end up having issues because I had issues last time.
okay.
So
Well, I haven't upgraded this since I think we flew back to California on May 11th or May 12th, something
right.
like that. And it hasn't been updated since that time. So at any rate, how you doing?
Oh, not too bad. Grandkids have been sick, and of course, I have been
Anything's
around grandkids.
well, yeah. Until about the time they graduate from college, they are persistent petri dishes, is the way I would describe them biologically.
At least, at
They
least.
well, when they're little kids, of course, they clamber all over each other, and the concept of social distancing is not
They
non-existent.
well,
And
and of course they want to come and hug you and kiss you, and
oh yeah, right.
so you get no, stay away, which you
Yep.
can't really do when they're 7.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I reared two daughters 13 years apart. So I was for 26 years constantly in that situation. So at any rate,
Wow.
but one's 54 and the other's 41 now. So still
Yeah.
have to be careful around COVID and that sort of thing. But we thoroughly tested ourselves before we went to the airport this last week. So I don't know if you can see it. If you look at the top of my head,
There's like a little dot.
well, it's more than a dot, it's a stripe. But I suppose with the,
It's you can see something there. Yes.
you see it there?
Oh, yeah, like a big bruise.
It's not a bruise, it's a scab.
Oh,
I did the night we flew in, my son-in-law and daughter picked us up at the airport, and we decided to stop at this great pizza place, which is just down the hill from us, on the way home. So we did that, and coming out of the we closed the place, as it turned out. It closed at like 9 o'clock, something like that. And coming out of the restaurant and walking across the parking lot, there's probably a 10-degree slope, something like that. And somehow or another, I hit, I don't know, a wet spot. It wasn't icy, a wet spot or whatever, and did a triple gainer and landed on my knee and my head,
Wow.
and ended up with it skinning the top of my head. It skinned my knee much worse, but without taking my pants off, I can't show you that. So
We don't want that.
okay. So yeah, it's my left knee is one large scab. And as a matter of fact, it started to heat up a little bit. It was healing nicely. It started to heat up a little bit yesterday. So we went to the local urgent care, and he looked it over and said, well, it's not infected, but it could be. So why don't we just give you some antibiotics? And he did. And I am now on a 7-day course of antibiotics, just prophylactically, just to protect me from infections. And then we'll, and thus far, I have no. The good news is, apparently, knock wood, I didn't break anything.
Well, that's
Which well, the older you get, and I've got a few clicks on you and most people here, the more fragile your bones become. So I could have easily split a kneecap, and I did not, and for that I'm infinitely thankful. But at any rate, so one thing I was not clear on, it seemed to me like the email said video only or virtual only. Jim, the reason for that is?
Virtual only today.
Yeah, I was wondering why you weren't at the library. You don't have a room at the end, so to speak?
I know we found out last week that Leroy is going to be unavailable occasionally on Wednesday. And I got to look around and also noticed there was some flu going around this week. And Leroy said he kind of started thinking about doing every other Wednesday anyway, was had that idea. And so I said, okay, well, we'll just go virtual this week as as it's the day before Thanksgiving, and we'll just go virtual and we'll go from there. We also, having said that, we also talked about moving the meetings back to Thursday, put that up to the group starting next year, and start maybe do every other Wednesday for the rest of the year, which is not too much more, and then maybe go Thursday night next year and see what people think. But yeah, we did virtual only, and we put the meeting announcement out yesterday.
Yeah, Jim was on the ball.
Yeah,
I was a little surprised at that. But
yeah, well, you know how I am. I like to do, at least 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, in my case, that's I can't make it to the midpoint in 15 minutes anyway. Even if I roll out the Maserati, so to speak.
Usually we know. I supposed to intentionally put it out like 24 hours ahead of time this time, because I knew we might have some issues with folks. So I did it ahead of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Steve.
Hello. Sorry, I'm running late.
No,
I
you're
just
all
got-
right.
So you eat dinner before rather than after?
We just came from dinner. I'm eating an apple.
Oh, okay.
There is a Black Friday deal while I'm thinking about it. Walmart's got a TCL room Roku TV for $270. It's a 65 inch. Just put that out there.
This is Walmart?
Yes. At TCLs, I've got about 3 or 4 TCLs. They're okay. They're not bleeding edge, trust me, but they're okay.
I've got
That's
a
a-
TCL too. I'm pretty happy with it. Mine doesn't have Roku. It's Google TV.
Yeah.
I went even cheaper than TCL. I went with the ONN brand.
Oh,
It's almost identical to the Sharp that I've got in the living room.
mhm.
The biggest difference between the two TVs is the software on the ONN is a little bit newer because the Sharp was last year's model or 2 years ago. And the ONN uses a cheaper bezel. I mean, you could visibly tell that the plastic is cheaper. But other than that, it's pretty much the same TV.
I've got
I
a
could
Sharp-
even take the same feet off of the two TVs and plug into both of them. I mean, it's pretty much the same TV.
Well, my bleeding edge is video monitors. And in California, the 58-inch that I have on the wall in the family room turns 13 on December 26th this year. I know that because I had it was delivered on the 26th of December in 2009. It was, we decided to get it for the family, so to speak, at the last minute. And when we went to Best Buy to buy it, it was on back orders. So it's a great TV. It's plasma, which means it sucks power like mad. Keeps you nice and warm. It's like sitting in front of a fire, but it has great brightness and so forth and so on. So one of these days, I will probably be forced to upgrade. Of course, this is long before the days of smart TVs and so forth and so on.
If you replace that at this point, in 3 years, you'd pay for the replacement in power.
Probably so.
Yeah.
On the other hand, my solution to that is I just never watch TV, but my wife doesn't feel that way. So
the youngest kid, he was given it's got to be at least a 65-inch TV from his work, and I helped him hang it on the wall. That thing's a monster. It's not real heavy, but to my surprise, they were using the Yahoo app store instead of, a traditional Roku or Google or something. They were still using the Yahoo app store.
I'm surprised Yahoo is still around.
That's pretty much what I said.
Well,
I was like, we turned that thing on and it came up Yahoo, and I was like, okay. And he was like, no, it's a pretty current TV. I'm like, okay.
Oh,
Host disabled participant sharing.
Oh, you know, the
can't you
host
set
is
that, can't you set that default to be enabled? Or isn't that possible?
probably, it probably didn't happen when I made the meeting. So
Oh,
dun,
there we
dun,
go.
dun. Black Friday deals, 228, 65-inch.
Okay. Well, that's definitely a pretty good deal.
Yeah, that's cheap.
That other than the size, that looks like the ONN I bought. The same feet and everything.
Yeah.
I think they were all
So
made by
that-
the same people.
So that default sits on something as opposed to being wall mounted?
Do whatever you want with it. It's got VESA mount holes in the back.
So you buy yourself a wall mount and stick it up if you want to put it on the wall.
Yeah, and
Yep.
according to my kid, he paid as much for the wall mount as what the TV cost. So
The Walmarts are, like 40, 50 bucks.
Yeah.
The one I have, I'm using for this screen I'm using, I got a 55-inch. I paid 150 bucks for, and 40 bucks, I think it was less than 40 bucks for the wall mount.
his was I think he paid $85 for the wall mount, but it's got the speaker bar and some other stuff with it.
Okay.
So
Yeah, my daughter and son-in-law got one about, I don't know, 6 months ago. And they got the speaker bar and they really like that. So it's interesting.
that was when we turned it on and we were watching some TV, I was like, hey, this has got a nice picture and everything. But the sound, the speakers on it were aimed towards the wall. And I'm like, yeah, we got to hook that speaker bar up. We got to get your sound sounding better.
Oh, the speakers on the TV were headed
On his TV are facing the wall. It's like, oh, we got to do something about that. So that's
Let's see.
probably, they probably made
Steve?
like this conscious decision to put the speakers where you can't hear them so they could sell you a speaker bar.
If you've got it on a wall mount, it bounces off the wall and sounds a bit better.
It's the way his is mounted to the wall. I think he's got at least one of the speakers blocked. It kind of sounded like he was in a tunnel, like it was hollow. Of course, it could be a setting too, because the TV was given to him from somebody at work, and it wasn't a new TV. It was a pre-owned TV. So somebody could have had it set weird. Of course, it could be trying to output to the speaker bar too. So
Well, we've had some warm weather here. I get here and it's in the 50s and 60s. So, although last week it certainly was not. So,
Yeah, it did that just for you.
oh yeah.
yeah, come back more often.
Oh, I think tomorrow, according to Barbara, tomorrow it's supposed to rain. So,
The night, it should be 32 and partially cloudy. 53 and 44 with increasing clouds and rain likely overnight. Tomorrow night.
that's Leroy's weather, official weather forecast. Okay. Okay.
I don't know how accurate
That's,
it is.
that's pretty nifty there. Is that a dedicated weather screen?
Nope. That is an ESP32 with a e-paper display on it.
No.
So it's in low power. mode right now, and here in a few minutes, it'll turn itself on, update. It's been running for over a month and it's down to 43% on the battery. So
That's impressive.
yeah, considering it connects to the Wi-Fi and does all that fun stuff. It's getting its weather from, I believe it's from the National Weather Service. And you don't need an API key or anything. You just connect and get you have to know what the National Weather Service is looking for your location.
Yeah.
But it's like a URL with some weird numbers in it, and that's what it reads. It reads like a JSON string, phrases it out to the display. And
So
according,
it just parses a JSON record.
yeah, and the little icons that it's got, I think those are on the SD card. So it pulls those in. This device has a pretty bad temperature sensor built into it, but it says it's 75 degrees in here right now with 28% humidity inside the house. And I'm not sure that I believe that it is either of those things. It is pretty warm in here, but I don't know if it's 75.
Well, I appreciate you guys
Oh, that's
bringing in
neat.
the warm weather for me. Allows me to acclimate. Although I got to tell you, when I got off the plane, I think it was I don't know, down in the low 30s, and since we've been here, it's been below 20 at least one night, which is okay. I don't care one way or the other, but Barbara gets kind of uncomfortable. Having grown up in the San Fernando Valley.
It is like I said, overnight it's supposed to be down in the 30s. So, and then the 40s. So it's going to get colder. What is this I'm looking at, Steve? That is cool.
Just a service that provides weather.
In
I posted a
ASCII
link,
character.
maybe you didn't notice it.
Well, I
It
don't see.
figures out where you're at by the IP lookup. It looks up the weather, and you can tell it, I want weather for some other place. There's an API for it as well.
So what am I supposed to be looking at?
There's in the chat. You see it?
Oh, I don't have chat on. Okay.
Might have to. This is actually kind of cool. It's, you could phrase that out in, it's all text. It's all text based. So you could do
You
that
can
through the
also
terminal.
open that with curl.
Oh yeah, cool. Coolness.
Hook that up to an old school BBS. This is your weather or my weather because it's my well, probably would format better if I actually open the terminal window all the way up. That is cool.
I've got that in my bash RC, and when it runs, well, when I open a terminal, bash writes a little file that says what time it opened and what time the last time it displayed weather was. And if it's been more than 4 hours, it curls that again, dumps it to the screen.
That looks like a cat stand.
It is, with my new clock on it. That's about a 4-inch tall time thing with the day of the week, the temperature, and the date. For us old guys, some days we need to know what day of the week it is. 15
yeah.
bucks. 15 bucks.
From whence?
AliExpress. I got 2 of them. Bad news is it doesn't have an internal clock. It just, you know, it has an internal clock, but it doesn't run off battery. It retains the settings, but if you unplug it, I think it just remembers the current time when you turn it back on, something like that. So 15 bucks is cheap for those these days, from what I was seeing. And those are 40, 50 bucks on the regular market.
So what kind of a display is that, Jim?
It's LED. They could be using discrete LEDs, I suspect, just to make it cheap. The color is pretty. It's a nice green. The camera's a little bit off. It's a very pleasant green, very true green. Looks nice. For 15 bucks, it's a good deal. The temperature is a little bit off. It's only displays odd temperatures unless the room temperature is 72. And then it's even. But it's,
That is bizarre.
but you know, for indoor temperature, it's pretty good. It's a little bit warm now because it's sitting near the window. We've been having sun on. It's a southern facing window.
No.
Well,
But so far, I'm pleased with it. You have to provide your own 2 volts on 5 volts at 2 amps. And I bought a couple of those for $2.50 a piece. So I got over that up. But they want big bucks for those guys. I'm surprised.
Ah, Vicente,
Hi, hello.
how you doing?
Great. Ah. How is California?
Fine, I guess, as near as I can tell with my remote sensors.
You're back.
Pardon?
You are here in Milford.
Yeah, this is
Great.
my office in Milford,
Okay, great.
which is what I'm trying to figure out. It looks like it's dark outside your house. It's not yet dark here, so.
It's a wall outside.
It's a what?
A wall. You see the
Now it looks familiar.
there is a wall.
Oh, so we're looking at a wall.
It's a patio. In my back is a patio with walls.
Okay. Yeah, in another month, we'll be hitting the equinox. No, not the equinox, the winter solstice.
Mhm.
New audiobook. Is that a train?
that sounded like a train.
Yeah.
And we have a train out back, and I got the nature monitor on.
Okay.
Oh, this is when this tells you when some wild animals out there.
This is in Monroe.
We listen to the birds and that sort of thing.
So there's a train track someplace close by?
It's about 400, 500 yards.
Yeah, we got one down the hill here. It's probably about the same distance, but about 300 feet altitude different.
Yeah, we like to listen to the birds, and we like to hear the wind blow and the rain and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
We don't like to hear the contractor sawing lumber in the backyard though, so that's something we forget to.
Why are they building in your area?
We're putting a new deck, or replacing the boards on the deck.
Are you replacing them with real wood or with the artificial ones?
Real wood. We're not gonna live that long.
I know what you mean.
And we don't have that much money too, yeah.
So they're not replacing the frame, they're just redecking the,
Right. Yeah, the frame's plenty good. The wood that's exposed to the sun is the one that takes the beating. And the vertical walls, not so much. Like we have a wooden wall, similar to yours. And it's been stained, and it's lasted pretty good. It's in good shape.
so the sun causes the wood to deteriorate?
It's a UV, mostly the UV, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, certainly anything that's plastic or artificial, the UV will go after it. I guess I didn't realize that UV attacked natural wood that much, but I guess it does.
Yeah, they usually put mineral oil on them every year or something to protect them somewhat, but it still gets them. And but the vertical surfaces not so much, because they're not getting as much exposure to sunlight. You know, the morning that the east side gets, you know, exposure during the morning, and the west side gets exposure in the evening, but not all day, and it's at an angle.
I don't think it's exposure to the sun that causes it. I think
No.
it's in water.
Oh, okay.
Well, we have to get ours restained about, originally, the first time I had it stained after I bought the house, the guy who I had do it, who was supposedly a specialist, assured me, oh, it'll last for 10 years. I said, well, that's not bad. Probably 2 stainings and that'll be longer than I last. And so next year, I thought, boy, that's not so good. The following year, it was even worse. So I got another guy in, comes in. I said, this was supposed to be a 10-year stain job. He said, you're kidding me. Who told you that? And I said, the last guy had to stain it. So now we get it stained about, it really needs it every year, but every 2 years is about what I'm willing to spring for.
Yeah.
But the one thing we had to do this last year was the steps coming up from the yard onto the deck. I was out walking around one day in the summertime and put my foot through one of the steps. And I thought, wow, that's not so good. So I got my local handyman to come out, and he said, oh, well, I can replace that for you. And so this last year, we had all of the steps done. And we're now waiting for the spring. They did it with new wood. And he said, we won't stain it this fall. We will stain it in the spring. And so we're now waiting for the spring, and they'll stain it. But I was lucky I didn't break a leg or something. Another that one step, it just rotted completely out.
Ours was really, it was already had a bad surface on it when I showed up. So we babied it until now, but it was now Gail's decided it was time. And so bam.
So how long have you been in the house?
35, 40 years,
Well, I've been in the house about a little over 30.
a little over 30.
Oh, okay. So, well, that lasted pretty good for you.
But it's not a new house, so it's been around. So, but you know, in the varieties of stain, you can get the tinted stain that looks kind of like paint. That protects longer. And you can get the clear stuff, which doesn't last as long.
Mm-hmm.
And let me get this out of the way. I got a list. I put a flyer of the Ohio flu numbers in the meeting announcements for those interested. We got a new book added to the audio book. If you like that,
Okay.
the one about the hotel lady, you'll like this one. It's a Western. It's
Now
a
it's by the same author as the hotel lady.
totally different author. It's easy to read. You feel empathy toward the characters. It's about a girl that was captured by the Indians when she's 6, and they got the girl back when she was 10. And they tell this old guy, they paid this old guy $50 to deliver her somewhere, and she's 10 years old, and she just came back from the Indians for years.
Huh.
It's a easy read. It's just like the other book.
Okay.
60 millimeter camera. You guys see that? Okay, that's what it looks like. This is a camera that died. This outer area had a LED. LEDs, infrared LEDs. And I took that board off and it left this board. So it's kind of hanging in there. And the lens is much bigger than what it was before. The cover for it is right beside it, but the cover's off of it. And I just screwed that 60 millimeter in there. Very simple, but it's up under the porch, so it's not exposed to the weather. And it's been working fine for about a year now.
Can you see the road from where it's located?
Oh, yeah. I'll show you the road in a minute. Let's see, I need to go back to the other one. Well, let's see, what else do we have on the list? Here. Okay, I gotta go. There wasn't much news this week. Alabama's gonna build a new photocell plant. I think it was down there.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the first one in the US for a number of years before the debacle back in 2014 happened.
And we already talked about the Thursday meeting proposal. And
I don't think Vicente was here when you talked about that.
we'll probably have to repeat this several times. We're talking about changing the meetings back to Thursday next week, Vicente.
Next year.
But okay,
Because we're subject to skip Wednesdays till the end of the year. So check with your meeting announcement to see if we're going to meet or not, because it's subject to change without notice. We gave you more than 15 minutes this time, but you probably want to check before you leave. to check to see where the meeting is gonna be, see if it's gonna be virtual.
Well, with that being said, even if we go back to Thursday, if one of us is sick or something, it may still change.
Yeah, yeah.
What does the library look like on Thursday?
So far it's clear for next year. And I need to get enough tokens to reserve. As soon as I get a token from this meeting, I'll start reserving them. But it looks clear is the only reason I checked before I talked about Thursday. But you know, it's good to read your meeting announcement to see what the heck's going on, because you never know. Somebody might be sick, somebody might look funny, which happens a lot around here. That sort of thing. And wanted to see if anybody had any conflicts with Thursday, so we kind of spread that around for a few meetings.
Okay.
Thursday should be okay. You know, the skipping every other Wednesday thing, that was to accommodate me having a grandkid.
So what's the deal with this token business?
Oh, you get six, you have the ability to schedule 6 meetings. Okay. And so we're consuming one tonight, so I'll have one free. And I do this every week, and usually right after the meeting, as soon as I can, right after the meeting, to make sure I get one. So I'm always planning, I'm always 6 weeks ahead.
So you can only schedule 6 meetings at a time, is that the deal?
That's correct.
Okay.
And they have a little utility you use, and there you go.
I have something, maybe.
Okay. What you got, Leroy?
Well, let's see if I can actually do this without blowing up my computer. Saw this on Twitter the other day, and apparently it's actually been around for a while. This is a spherical drive.
Wow.
And it uses a couple of motors. Actually, I think like 4 motors total, and some gears, and it spins this ball. It's like a ball joint. And I'll put a link. They explain pretty much, but I found a video. This video is long, and there's no audio to the video. So I'll skip ahead a little.
Wow, that is super cool.
Well,
those-
that's not the only cool thing that this thing can do. So,
Well, is this thing a commercial product, or is this a lab product, or what?
I saw it from like a university had tweeted about it. So I'm guessing it's not a commercial thing yet.
Can't order it on Amazon, right?
I'm guessing no, but if we I'll advance forward. This explains the structure a little bit, and there's your gear drive, and then I don't know if yep. So you can flip the gear drive and spin it in any direction.
Oh.
And
Wow.
adding here they get ready to add one more gear drive instead of the one thing.
Oh, I see how it works. Okay.
So now there's 2 gear drives. So this thing's cool. It's it's cool as heck. So this video, I'll put a link to the video too. They go in to show kind of how it.
So you're gonna whip this out on your 3D printer there, Leroy?
Well,
I mean, do they publish designs for it or anything?
they did not, but makers being makers. Uh-oh, what did I do? Makers being makers, of course, go to Thingiverse and there's the mono gear. There's the sphere. Too bad it's not cut in half so you could actually print it. There's another sphere.
Are we supposed to be seeing a shared screen here?
Yes, you are. And you're not, because I clicked on something and got rid of the share.
So that
Sorry.
ball is split?
That one doesn't look like it would be good to print. That one looks like it would be a.
No, but the one you demonstrated earlier, the live demo, that looked like that ball was split, like the two halves rotated around each other.
Yeah. It's not really split. It's more of a sphere, but I think, you know, when you print it, you print it in two halves so that you could put it together. This is actually gear driven. I mean, there's the mono gear. There's the sphere, which I would have to cut in half and glue the two halves together. And there's so yes, there are industrial people that have come up with something. So let me put the links to all this in.
You're gonna put that in Wix?
I will do that. That is the next thing that I kind of wanted to broach the subject of. This past couple of weeks, I have been using Mastodon, which is kind of a Twitter kind of chat kind of.
Yeah.
It's more.
How,
It's kind of like the old Google Plus thing with, so you post pictures and you can do all kinds of stuff. Anyway, it's open sourced and you can run your own Mastodon instance. So I was wondering if maybe we might want to
use it.
do it. Yeah. Nobody really uses Wix. I mean, I think me and you are the only ones that really go there, Art. So.
Well, yeah, I look at people's projects there and it's got projects going back several years at this point.
I would suggest getting rid of it. I'm just thinking that there might be something else that.
Well, do we pay for Wix?
No, it's free. And we wouldn't pay for Mastodon either. You wouldn't pay for it if you could host it on your own computer, like on a Raspberry Pi, and you had your own storage and you had your own, if you could do email server kind of deal. So the only thing that you might have to pay for, which would be a one-time a year deal, would be like a domain name so that you could get to the Mastodon server. And I'm not real sure that you would even need to pay for that or buy a domain name. I think you probably could use a reverse tunnel and get into it, but.
How complicated is it going to be for people to access it?
it's, if you could use Twitter, you could use this, but it is different. It's, and if you remember the old Google Plus, it's pretty good. It's, what it is it's a, it's Twitter-like, but it's, no one person owns it. So it's federated. So if you wanted to talk about ham radio, you could talk to, you could get on the ham radio instance and talk to hams, but you wouldn't need to have two accounts. You could just use your Mastodon account across all the instances.
Hmm.
It's an interesting setup. It's been described as like special interest groups, or remember SIGs back in the day, like Usenet groups.
Yeah.
It's like Usenet groups meet Twitter.
Okay.
And, you know, Usenet groups were your whoever hosted your Usenet group could carry certain groups or not carry certain groups. And that's kind of how Mastodon works. So if we had our own Mastodon server, we could decide, well, we don't really care what's going on in the political world. We only care about Arduinos and robots and that stuff.
Do you know what ports it needs?
I don't off the top of my head. I know one of the requirements was an email server.
Well, I got that.
And depending, they said, depending upon how big your instance gets, would be your storage requirements. So, you know, we would be relatively small because we would have a closed setup to only club members. But just because it's only club members that could go in there, it's all public. Everybody can see it. So it's like Google Plus for us. It's a weird setup. It's an interesting setup. I'm just putting it out there. See if anybody would be interested in something like that.
Mastodon.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of that. There was something about Elon Musk and Mastodon a couple of weeks ago. I saw.
Well,
I don't remember the details.
Elon Musk and everybody else.
yeah, I was going to say Elon Musk and Twitter when he bought Twitter.
There are
So this-
several people I was following on Twitter. They just announced that they are moving to Mastodon,
Yeah.
but I didn't try it.
So this is you can see here, it's mastodon.radio. It's mostly geared towards ham radio operators. And this is my home timeline. So not everybody here, because I follow people that are not 100% ham radio. So if we go, there's a guy talking about JFK. He's a ham, he's a good guy. I was looking for Commodore 64. There's a bunch of Commodore 64 in my home screen because I follow people that are on the Commodore 64 instance. But if I go local, if I click on local, this is only on the mastodon.radio server. So this is going to be 99% ham radio guys. And if I want to look into the wider world of everything that's going on Mastodon that this server follows, it's the federated timeline, and you will see a mess of everything. So, but this server, this mastodon.radio server has to follow like hencheyderm.wtf in order to have it show up in the federated timeline. Or fostodon.org or whatever, So it is a moderated deal. The moderators are really good about keeping speech on track and, not veering too far left or right in any direction. And if you have a server that does veer too far off in one direction or another, then the guy that runs this server could just go, "You're blocked," and he could block the whole entire server, because they don't necessarily want all that stuff filtering through the entire system, if that makes sense. But then
So there's a moderator per server, is that the deal?
it's usually the owner of the server. I think because of the growth that has happened over the past couple of weeks, the moderators have appointed other people to help moderate. But
I was going to say that's a full-time job.
yeah, it could be. Definitely. And if you're following every Mastodon server, it could definitely be a full-time job. So it's something to consider. This is how you post whatever. Somehow or another, I haven't figured it out yet because I'm still relatively new, but there is a way to actually make a blog post. So longer than 500 characters. So if you wanted to do, a project, you could actually do that. And that may be something that the moderators can turn on and off. I've seen it on a couple of other servers though. So I know that it can do it. But it's an interesting thing. So, here's all the posts that I've favored. There's some Commodore 64 stuff. This guy explains Mastodon really well. How to repair broken clips. But
You throw it out and get another one.
somebody came up with a 3D printed one.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm like, I would do that. Sure. I'm cheap. I'll do that.
Problem is, in many cases, the cable sockets are so close together. I don't know how that would fit in there.
So it's a little bit wider than the jacket, and you push it over the I'll have to find it. The Thingiverse file explains it pretty well. The hard part is actually getting it to print right because it's open and it's got that extra little curve thing on the back side of it. So you can't print it in a couple of different orientations because you need to print stand. So the hard part is getting it to print correctly. But I put a link to it in the thing. So if I wanted to share that post though to everybody, and you don't need an account, so I just go to the website here. I'll go back and I'll share again. I go to the so there's the post. Say I want to share that with everybody. I could click that and click open original post and then copy the link and paste the link into the chat. And now you don't even need a Mastodon account. Everybody should be able to look at the original post.
Cool.
So that's why I was like, this is kind of interesting. It kind of meets a couple of our requirements. People can find us. They don't have to have an account with us. They can still look at our projects And they might actually get used because it might actually be a, you know, something that people could find instead of on the backwoods of Wix server somewhere. But that's just a thought. We don't have to do anything right away. It was just a thought.
Interesting.
That sounded like a good one to tinker with. I'm just getting used to talking about Reddit. Reddit sounds like it's Usenet like.
I don't really particularly care for Reddit. It is an interesting deal.
Blasphemy.
Do I?
Blasphemy.
Blasphemy? What? I don't like it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I find too many people on there. Just you post something and they just go off about it. That, you know.
What I'm interested in is something where I can pick my topics and like Usenet used to be able to nitpick anything. I mean, anything.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I want that.
check out some of the Mastodon servers. I mean, there's every possible topic you could think of is there. It's interesting. It is an interesting thing. It's not exactly a
You need an account to browse around?
do what?
Do you need
No.
an account to browse or no?
No, I don't think you need an account to search anywhere. Like if you clicked on that last link I posted,
Uh-huh.
you should be able to see that.
Yeah, I did. I brought it up.
Yeah.
Just double clicking on that last link in the chat room, and it came right up.
Once you
I
get
don't know if I could modify it or anything, but it certainly brought it up.
No, you should not be able to without an account, you shouldn't be able to reply to it or anything like that. But you could, over on the right-hand side where it says explore or local and federated, you should be able to click on those and see what else is on that server or on that. They call it an instance. It's not a server, it's an instance.
I'll be checking.
Yeah, and it's got a place to sign in there.
Yes.
So you create an account.
If you have an account, that's where you can sign in. Now, because of how this works, like my account is set up on Mastodon .radio. So I would, if I wanted to reply to this, I would actually need to bring this post back over to my particular instance and then reply to it. It's a little weird. It's a little strange, but that's how it works. So
access to huge databases, and the regular search engine is not that great. Yeah, if you like Reddit, I talked about some the real link cameras, and boom, there were people on the subject. I'm like, wow.
So with Mastodon, it is true. Their search is a little strange, and they use hashtags mostly for stuff like that. I think that's probably going to change or it's going to improve because people are used to searching a little bit different, and I think they know it. But like, here, let me show this screen again. So I want to post something to this comment or to this topic. So I copy the URL and I go back over to my instance and I paste the URL. And I should be able to now make a comment, and I'm logged in as me. And you see here where his username shows up. See, it's his username is whatever that is at mastodon.tetra neutral, tetra not something, tet neutral. So now I could say, I like this or whatever, and it would show up, and it would show up over on his instance, and it would show up in my local timeline. I'm not going to do that, but that's how you would do that. So if we wanted to see Reolink cameras, we could type Reolink and see if anything shows up. And there's no hashtags and there's no posts. So if I put a hashtag now, let's see if, nope, no hashtags of Reolink cameras. So
Chasing the mouse,
I
yeah.
know.
if we did robots, click on robots, and there's,
A lot, I'm sure.
yeah, there's quite a few. And if I type in Arduino without the hashtag, it pulls up. So there's the person Arduino, which is the company. 15 people in the past 2 days have been talking about Arduino. So I could click on hashtags and try to narrow it down a bit. So there's everybody talking about Arduino in the past couple of days. There's the person, and I think I will actually follow him because I follow them anyway. Then there's the Arduino group. I don't know what that is. But that's search is a little wonky on Mastodon. That may or may not change, but that's everything I know about Mastodon right now too. I mean, I'm still kind of learning it.
And we can root around there and see how it searches. Using that was weird because you had so many groups.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the instance that I'm on. Like I found this instance mainly because it was a ham radio related instance. But there's 3 or 4 different ham radio related instances now too, and they all share back and forth with each other.
So the URL in all cases is mastodon.subject.com.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It could be almost anything really.
Question is, how do you find something?
So I will put a link to the Join Mastodon site. And there is somewhere on this website, there is a way to search for find a server. It's right there. I scrolled about halfway down. Find a server.
Okay.
And then you could go, okay, all regions, European, North America. And then it tells a little bit about what these servers are. So in this case, it's not Mastodon dot whatever, it's phpc.social. Secure search engine optimization is seo.chat. folks interested in Ruby programming language, it's ruby.social. So it's not always Mastodon dot whatever. You just kind of got to search through there. But you can go through here and, if you just want a general area, universe.on or mastodon.social used to show up. They have probably closed registration for mastodon.social because of how many people. Technology. So this is all regions. This is all the technology. So there's 17 technology servers, which probably isn't entirely true. Yeah, I mean, just look at it. You should be able to explore the instances without even setting an account up. So
Okay, cool.
like I said, it's one of those, when I saw it, I was like, this might actually be closer to what we were looking for 2 years ago when we were messing around with this stuff, 3 years ago when we were messing around with it. See, it says that it has 7.7 thousand servers. Is that enough servers for you, Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's several criteria we had. We'll see. We'll continue to investigate it. Nobody can try it out, see what they think. Vicente, what you been into? Anything good?
Nothing special. I am having some progress in different projects, but I'm putting together boxes, boards, and all the stuff for the location. I already have the boxes for the weatherproof boxes for the beacons outside in a couple of trees in different places.
We need to get something for your echo, Vicente, really. You got a bad echo. I don't know what the deal is.
You need something for what?
Echo. Yeah, we hear your echo, like you're in an echo chamber.
Uh-huh.
You were echoing just now, Jim, so maybe it's something server side.
Oh.
I don't hear any echo on either one.
Okay. Hello.
Art sounds good.
Yeah.
Leroy sounds good. And of course, I sound good and look good. Me and Leroy both look good, but
You hear echo?
I don't hear an echo, Vicente.
I don't either.
okay, maybe it's the way I'm listening
Something strange.
or something. But Art doesn't echo, and Leroy doesn't echo. It's just Vicente. Huh.
Wow.
I don't know.
Maybe it's a feature of the current release of Zoom.
Echo for free.
Echo for free. Yeah.
It's not a bad echo like you're echoing off a cliff. It's just very robust. It's like a cheap microphone that doesn't have a shroud or anything on it. It just and then I have trouble understanding Vicente sometimes anyway. And then you add that to it, and I got a double whammy. I don't hear well anyway.
This is no echo. It's because I don't speak English.
It's like you're in a big room. Is what it sounds like with a non-textured ceiling. And see, Art doesn't echo. See? Oh, Art.
I don't have a textured ceiling though. I have a
Yeah.
9-foot ceiling, but not a textured ceiling.
But you've also got a decent mic.
Oh, really?
We're going to
Wow.
try. You got a headset with a mic?
I bought ESP32, the low-link version that has a battery charger on it, and the battery. You put them in the box.
So is that a camera or just the ESP32?
Just the ESP32, but it's a low power because has no LEDs or nothing else, and has a battery charger and a very low power mode, so I can make a beacon that will be running for months, I think, because it only use energy when you ask for a pulse. If there is no robots around asking for location, the ESP32 will be in a sleeping mode.
So what is the input to the power supply? Is that a 5-volt input or 3.3 or what?
No, you have the USB port of the board,
Okay.
and the battery is in this connector. When you plug the USB micro USB,
Yeah.
the charger will be charging the battery. When you remove your USB, the battery will take care of the power.
So that's a micro USB, not a USB-C.
Micro USB, yes.
Okay. Well, that's good because I've got a whole ton of those things laying around that I
Me too, but now I am using both a lot.
Yeah, about the time I think I had about 30 of the micro USB chargers at the time they segued to
Me too.
USB-C, and now they're nothing but scrap metal and plastic.
I know the feeling. Yeah.
Even my cell phone now, I can't charge it with a micro USB. So
I have tons of micro USB cables, tons. But supposedly all the new standard will be the USB-C.
that's right.
But I have a lot of boards, ESP32 and Arduinos and everything with micro USB. So, but you can buy an adapter for two adapters for $5 in Amazon to convert USB.
Well, that's true.
USB-C to micro USB. It's a tiny connector that will solve the problem, the gap.
Well, I think the European Union is now mandating USB-C by.
Yeah, I read something about that. Yeah.
Well, they particularly had a battle with Apple because Apple always wants to do their own thing.
Yeah. Maybe Apple have complaints, but they need to adapt. The good thing that USB-C is very strong. I never had trouble with them. Micro USB, I used to break connectors and the solder pins, and everything happens with micro USB, everything.
Yeah, well, putting them in backwards was my nemesis. I would, because they aren't symmetric, you try to shove the things in backwards. That just totally.
I always try first the wrong way, always. I don't know why. Micro USB.
Okay. Well, I will poke around with this Mastodon and see if I can figure out how to use it.
Me too.
Yeah, it's I ought to post. It's familiar and it's different. It's
Sometimes you're better off if it's completely unfamiliar. That way your mind resets and you start from scratch. Otherwise, you end up trying to convert from old to new and so forth and so on.
It's the way I have been thinking about it is it's like old meets new. It's like Web 1.0 meets Web 2.0, and you're got this weird mesh up of stuff that you're familiar from Web 1.0 and stuff you're familiar with Web 2.0, and it's sitting on top of each other and doing stuff. It's
like
Yeah.
like Microsoft using Linux.
well,
Yeah,
it's like, the instances, because everybody can talk to each other, at somebody's username at an instance. That's email.
Yeah.
Without email is that without the at,
Yeah.
without the first at. The fact that you've got different instances dedicated to different topics, that's like a special interest group. I mean, it's like old school meets new school. It's anyway, I'm going to put a link to I think the guy's name is Steve. No, Mark Smith. He's a ham radio operator and he's very, very knowledgeable. So I'll put a link to his video where he explains more about how Mastodon works.
Now, you're going to put that on Wix, or what are you going to put?
I put it in the chat right now, but it'll eventually end up on Wix.
Yeah, one of the problems with the chat is we can't see it after the session's over.
Yeah, I know. So, and I try when I post the video, I try to immediately post the chat. So, the video should be probably posted tomorrow. Not tomorrow, probably Friday. I'll probably do that Friday. So,
Okay.
Tomorrow there's going to be a lot of stuff going on tomorrow. I'll try to get it done tonight. There's a lot of stuff going on tonight too.
You having a big Thanksgiving?
Honestly, I don't know what Patty's got planned. She's always got something that she doesn't really tell me about.
Oh, really?
I find out about it about 15 minutes before it's supposed to happen. So I do know, I think we're going to Kentucky. So, but I don't really know what's going on. So anyway, I will post everything back onto Wix and
Okay. Thank you.
I put those links on the meeting announcement if you want to look.
Okay, great,
Okay.
great.
This is for next week you're talking about.
Yeah, or you can go look at the live meeting announcement right now if you wanted to.
Yeah.
There's a link there to the,
Oh, okay. So all of those links roll into subsequent meeting announcements?
I know, I just pasted a couple of them in there.
Okay.
Talking about how to get to them. I just put them in the meeting announcement right there.
Okay. Cool.
And you can go look at them right now if you want to. See, it's that way.
Okay.
you want something you want us in the meeting announcement, just let me know. And you see those, for example, those authors you gave me a couple of weeks ago. Book
Yeah,
author,
they appeared.
I pasted those in just as general notes.
Well,
So Vicente, you got any new projects going on?
No, I'm just lighting in the landscape, continuing with the lighting.
So this is Thanksgiving lightings or Christmas
No,
lightings?
no, I'm putting steel wires between the trees with springs to make lines to support those bulbs that are one every couple feet. You know, these lines for parties or for patios. My wife wants to have those lines in the backyard. So I am connecting with wires, the trees, and I put the lamps hanging on those wires.
So
Yes.
what happens in the case of an electrical storm?
I don't know, those wires are between trees. I don't know.
Okay. So you don't have to worry about grounding then? Okay.
No, because they are isolated. They are just for hanging the lamps.
They're just physical supports.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm using very large springs between the trees. If they move, the wire keeps the tension.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't worry.
So if the trees do this, the springs take up the slack, so to speak.
Yeah, but the trees are huge, you know. So
you don't have to worry about them
no,
doing this.
it just I was fighting with a cassette tape to move files in very old computers, but it's a pain.
Yeah.
You need to wait forever for a file to load, and usually you end with an error and nothing works.
So is that a full-size cassette or is that one of the micro cassettes?
No, full size.
Ah, yes. Yeah, okay. "40 years ago, we had a project with Fuji Photo, and Fuji Photo, in addition to making classic photo film, turns out was the second largest manufacturer of magnetic tape in the world.
Okay.
I think the first was what a 3M or Memorex or one of those. At any rate, so they wanted something that would help the life of the tape, because one of the problems with tapes is, of course, since it's mechanical and it rubs across surfaces and so forth and so on, is if you use it 5 times, it's okay. But if you use it like 10,000 times, as you would in a large database where you're constantly doing a shoe shine across the recording head, it becomes a real problem. And so we were using we were developing, for lack of a better term, slippery surfaces to improve the life of tape. And we've had a nice project going for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, something like that. And it was, and one thing about Japanese companies in general is they weren't stingy about funding.
I bought this cassette recorder in eBay. I need to hit it often to make it move. So
It's like the old TVs you had.
I don't know. Supposedly you need to be very precise in the frequencies of the tones, but at the end is a motor running and stopping and sleeping, and I don't know.
I found a TI tape recorder at one of the thrift stores, and I bought it, and it worked, and I was like, oh.
I think Amazon sells them news, you know,
Really?
because yeah,
I'm surprised you can still buy them.
yeah, there's people using it. I think that is because the Guardians of the Galaxy, the movie, they relaunched the cassette music.
Yeah.
I
You
still
can-
have one that I bought in the 70s, stuck in a closet someplace in California.
Yeah, you can find them on at thrift stores and all over the place.
Yeah,
You take your chances because the belts could break or
yeah.
be slipping or
Yeah.
Actually, my daughter is using a this player, and she used to buy long plays in
LPs. Yeah.
LPs. Yes, she's 17 and she loves to hear music in those
vinyl.
machines.
Yeah. Well, vinyl has made a big resurgence.
Vinyl is
There
back.
is some very, very expensive.
Also, she have a camera that you need to send it to Walgreens to print the photos, and they are pretty bad photos, you know. But they love to take pictures in the parties with those cameras and send them for developing the
So
print.
this is the old style chemical
yes.
photography.
Yes, they like it. I don't know.
That-
They all the red eyes in all the pictures.
Oh,
and
yeah.
very bad colors and everything is ugly. And they all have phones, you know, smartphones that take 100 times better pictures. But
Yeah.
they like the old style. I don't know why.
Film cameras are making a comeback.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe Kodak will make a comeback. They certainly died an ugly death.
Yeah.
There are certain things that are from the past that should just stay in the past. And
I agree.
vinyl records and film cameras are two of those things. I don't get it.
Actually, the audio
But
off
they are
of
coming back.
vinyl is pretty good.
Until you get a bad cartridge on the record player, or you get a really scratched up vinyl album.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I get it.
You want
There
to
is
hear
a certain
the,
tone to vinyl that sounds good and pleasing, but
do you want to hear how this sound? Let me show you.
it's not
You
moving,
want-
I
do you
don't
want-
think. That's how it sounds.
Whack, whack.
It should sound like 110 baud, maybe.
More than that. Don't hear anything.
You hear something?
Not hearing anything. Oh, that was
Oops.
something.
Very high frequency.
Wow.
Don't hear anything?
It tried to make some noise.
Yeah. It's very loud, but maybe it's 1 kilohertz. So maybe the microphone doesn't get it.
You're right, Art. The Commodore 64 cassette deck was 300 baud. But I'm sure I've got one of the old cassette decks that was 100 and 110, or it was slow.
Well, I remember the first modem that I had with my original IBM PC from what,
The highest.
81, and I had a 300 baud modem there, and I thought that was just the berries. But I mean, you know, and it cost a bunch of money too. It was not cheap. Then later on, I got one that was 1200 baud. I remember that. Well, that was a big deal. All of this was in the early 80s.
Let's see.
Highest smart modem. 1200 bauds, I think.
1200 baud, yeah.
Yeah, and they sell it for under $200 or so, and was cheap supposedly.
Yeah. Well, I also, when I was at Rutgers in the late 70s, we had the classic modems where you would dial up the line, you would take the receiver and sit it on this thing that had two pads on it. And I think that was 110 baud. I think that was really slow. And you used that to talk to the, we called it the host in those days, and now would be called a server, I guess. And you had a TTY33 telex machine, and used that to communicate with the host, which was probably a PDP-8, I'm guessing. It was long before the Vaxis came out.
Do you know why they used 110 baud or 300 baud?
I have no idea.
It's very robust. So it could handle line noise much better than the faster speeds.
Huh,
So
okay.
You lose speed by going slow, but you gain reliability,
Mm-hmm.
which when you were using the acoustic couplers, like what you're talking about, that was very important because noise could creep in from people in the room just talking.
Yeah.
So 300 baud, it was slow, but it was reliable. Once you got to 1200 baud and 2400 baud, and then really when you got to 9600 baud and 56 K, the line noise had to be pretty quiet. So
Well, they incremented the error checking and redundancy,
yep,
and they solved the problem just
they solved the problem through using acknowledgements and CRCs and whatever,
shaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but yes, and your smart modems would start off at the highest baud, and there would be some tones that it would play, and
And
the
then
other
work its way
modem would
down.
go, blah, 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 and it would go, blah, 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 and then they would negotiate a speed, and part of that
Yes.
negotiation was how much line noise is there, and
The connection, yeah.
yep. So smart modems got smart, but the reason why in the 70s, late 70s, 300 baud was everywhere was because it was reliable.
Well, I remember when I would go to visit my parents, I would hook up a computer to the telephone line, and I'd be sending something back and forth. And then my mom would pick up the damn phone line.
Yep.
And of course, she'd freak out because she'd hear all these strange tones on the line, and I would freak out because whatever I was working on was just totally trashed.
Yep. Now, if you were using 300 baud didn't particularly care about that. You would lose data, but once you plug the phone back in or hung up the other line, it would pick back up and it would start, right where it was,
Yeah.
because it didn't have handshaking in it. It didn't try to do all that fancy stuff that faster modems had to do. They had to do the handshaking. They had to go, yep, I hear you. Yep. We got you. So it's an interesting thing. There's a lot of interesting history with why 300 baud was chosen. And a lot of it comes down to the phone lines just sucked.
Well, one of the problems when we were working with terminals and hosts is the TTY 33 had a maximum baud rate of, I think the original was like 110.
Yeah.
And maybe later versions went up above that, but the original was 110. I remember my oldest daughter, who was then, I don't know, 10 or so, or 8 actually, loved to kill Klingons on they had a game built in, and I think she learned solid geometry by figuring out how you angle in order to hit a Klingon and so forth and so on. And it was all little plus signs on the paper printout. So you'd start a game, and Klingons would be moving and so forth and so on, and you'd zero in with, kind of forget what the names of the munitions were that they used. But I remember she just thought it was great to be able to kill Klingons on the computer. And that was her start. This is long before personal computers. This was back in the mid 70s.
The
Steve,
Vax,
go ahead.
Vax VMS days when you could do that, play games online.
Oh, this is way before VMS. VMS was on the VAX.
Yeah.
This is back PDP-4, PDP-8, and
Okay.
so forth and so on. But I don't think VMS was around then. Oh yes, there we go.
And
there we go.
And there's part of the basic program, and there's your
Oh yeah.
I think this is a slightly more modern version, but that's it. that's
where do you have a link to that?
Yeah, of course I have a link. It was published in Compute magazine back in probably the 80s, early 80s. And so if you look for that version, it was written for like the Apple II, the Commodore 64. It's not exactly the same version that you're talking about, because there was the Unix version and the pre-Unix version, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close.
Yeah, this was after it was running on the PDP computers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that kids like this this retro stuff. When I was teaching the early Raspberry Pi stuff at San Jose City College, I gave a project one time, and one of the students found found retro games and where you could what was the car game where you stole a car?
Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto. They found a simulator for Grand Theft Auto running on a Raspberry Pi, and they just went to town with that. It was a great motivator for them to learn how to use the Raspberry Pi. And this was in the, this would have been in the early teens, 2012, 2013, someplace along there. Oh.
So they're not.
Oh yeah.
Long range scan, please.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That is a part of a package of terminal games called BSD games. You can install that on any Linux.
I will have to send that to my older daughter. I'm sure she will remember doing that. I would go over on a Saturday or Sunday to do work at school, and she would tag along and get on one of the terminals. It was free. I don't know how much computer time she burned back in the days when computer time was expensive. But there was nobody else there. So, she just went to town, and she was, let's see, she was born in 68. So she would, and I started there in 76. So she would have been 8 years old. And she just thought that was great. And I'm sure it contributed a lot to her education, because over the years, a lot of things that other people had to learn as adults, she learned as a kid. And this was before the days when we had PCs. I think we got our first PC was a TI. What was the TI 66? 99.
The
Yeah, I
TI
knew.
99.
Yep.
I wish that was true, Vicente.
What? What'd you say?
He said Windows has been discontinued.
Right.
You remember, that is not the right window.
Well,
BSD games.
You remember the Colossal Cave game?
No, I remember Dungeons and Dragons.
You are standing at the end of the road before a small brick building. Around you is a forest. A small stream flows out of the building down the
Yep.
gully.
That
North.
sounds like Dungeons and Dragons.
You are in an open forest. North. You are in an open forest near a road. West. You are near a blah, blah, blah. That is Colossal Cave was another one of those games that was a Unix port, and it ported over to the PC. And it inspired Zork and a whole host of other text-based games. And it was either called, depending upon who wrote it or where they found it at, it was either called Colossal Cave or it was called Adventure. And that's included in that BSD games. Hunt the Wampus. Yep, that was in there too. I'm pretty sure Hunt the Wampus is in BSD games. It's just called Hunt, isn't it? Enter your code. Enter my code
Hunt the
name.
Wampus. Okay.
Enter your team.
So the link is BSD games.
That's what you need to install.
Oh, okay.
BSD games. Yep.
That you can install on any version of Linux, or pretty much any version of Linux.
Any version of, I think every version of Debian that I have seen has, it's not pre-installed on most of them. You have to install it, but
Not
can't
it's Debian,
do what?
CentOS, SUSE, everything.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, those are old Unix games that have made it, survived. So here's a list of all the games.
I just installed BSD games on my on the workstation here.
There's a list of all the games, though. I just put a link in the thing, so you could play Adventure, Arithmetic, Air Traffic Controller, which I never understood, Backgammon, Banner, Battlestar, BCD, Boggle, Caesar, which is a Caesar decrypting cipher, Canfield, which is like solitary. Oh, CF scores. I don't. Oh, scores for Canfield. Cribbage, Fish, Go Moco, which is the thing. Hangman, Hunt. Hunt D is a daemon for Hunt.
Sí.
Mile is like
Hablas
Milburn's
cualquier enferma.
game.
Texas Roadhouse.
¿Ah?
Texas Roadhouse.
¿Dónde es eso?
Oh, is she buying?
Texas Roadhouse.
Ah, ya sé.
Okay.
No pases frío.
Are you buying? I'll meet you at Texas Roadhouse.
My daughter.
Monopoly. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of games, and they're all text based.
Huh.
So,
Okay.
so if you remember all that, then you'll love BSD games. Okay, I'm getting the 1 minute sign from Jim. So I think we had a very productive meeting today.
Yeah.
BSD games. Okay.
And I will try to get links and everything. I don't know if I can do it tonight, but it'll definitely be by Friday.
Looks
So you're
like a
talking
real
about the
meeting
set
next
chat
week.
session.
Do what, Tim?
Real meeting next week in person.
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, we're headed that way. All right, but check.
Now this is on Wednesday next week or Thursday next week.
Wednesday next year is, we're talking about Thursday next year.
Thursday.
Okay.
So we've
So
still got
next
another
week
whole
it'd be-
month for
Yeah, okay.
Wednesdays.
Okay. So it'd be Wednesday next week. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Take
will-
care.
I will see everybody later.
Bye.
Good
Take
night.
care.
Bye.